We met at a children's camp one summer when we were both in high school. I was 16. The year before, I had attended a church camp, had a wonderful time that first summer. And so the second year I volunteered so that I could attend more camps. I volunteered to be a kitchen helper. Ross arrived as one of the counselors for the boys. And so there were a few evenings when the counselors would come into the kitchen to socialize, and that's where I met Ross.
And I took her away from that whole drudgery of kitchen work.
Well, I eventually went into dietetics where they used great big pots in the commercial kitchen. So I don't know how far away I got, really.
I'm now retired from a career in university teaching and research.
I'm retired university researcher as well.
We got married.
Got married, and then I went
and then
to
she came
Utah
out.
State University with him.
And then she went into...
So I enrolled in a master's program there.
Right.
First child was Lori, our daughter. Danny was born in 1976, and Lori 2 years earlier. First, we went on a sabbatical year to Australia when the children were small. Before Danny was 2, we packed up everything for a year and went to Australia. And my parents saying, "What are you doing, taking 2 small kids, youngest one not even 2 years old, and going to the other part of the world?
How are you going to survive?"
How are you going to manage?"
But children at that age just go along with the parents and accept the way it was. And he was a cocky little guy, but his big sister did look out for him, and they're still best of friends. Danny was right on biology. He enjoyed learning, so he really wanted to continue his graduate work, his master's and then his PhD, and he probably would like to become a professor like his mom and dad. I think every child, they want to find their own pathway and so on. And I think we like as parents to let them explore that. Danny had been upgrading and fixing quads and motorbikes and motorcycles. Actually, he was quite proficient at it. So I think it came up quite gradually that he was going to do a trip of a lifetime after graduation.
The year before, he had a summer job in Kamloops, and he met some fellows who had done motorbike trips that summer, and I think that's where the idea originated. There were 3. A friend of Danny's, Jeff, whom he'd met the summer before in Kamloops, who had experience riding bikes but was Danny's age, and then an older fellow that they had met through a bike shop who had traveled the west coast of California, of the United States before.
No news is good news, is the story you have to live by. But once the Hurricane Mitch came through and destroyed so much of Guatemala and other countries, they lost all the roads. All the bridges were out, and the roads were full of holes and so on.
Well, but Danny's plan was to go as far as Panama and come home. It was a Saturday morning. I was baking Christmas cake because it's late November. And Ross took the call. Then I could hear Ross's part of the conversation, and he didn't say much. It was really hard to figure out what was going on. But then once he put the phone down and tried to tell me, just about choked up. So Danny was the lead driver. He was looking for the airport turnoff sign. And so he must have glanced away looking for the sign. All of a sudden there was this huge transport truck, flatbed. One story was that it was parked in the right-hand lane. Another version of the story was that it was backing up in the right-hand lane. And they were on a 6-lane highway, lots of traffic. So Danny shoulder checked to see if he could pull into the left lane to get around this truck. And the space just closed too fast. And he hit his femur on the back corner of the truck, flew about 6 feet, and landed on the pavement. A woman who spoke very good English, but was obviously Spanish speaking. She had said there were head injuries, there was broken jaw, they thought there was internal injuries, and there was a broken femur.
So the next morning, 7 o'clock, I was on the flight. Straight to the hospital, and he was not pretty. He had more tubes than you could imagine. He had stitches from one end to the other, obviously unconscious and so on. And I met with the doctor right away, and pretty grim news. Just, we don't know.
He went directly to the neurological intensive care unit. And when we were finally allowed to see him, he was just completely expressionless, and he just didn't move. He just didn't respond for the longest time. So then we started reading books and articles and, getting some information on brain injury, usually with the tears just streaming down our face as we're sitting at home reading this. But then gradually, we started to see a few signs of encouragement. And Lori would sit next to him on a stool, and one day she was holding his thumb up in front of his face, said to him, "Now wiggle your thumb." And he managed to wiggle his thumb. They wondered if Ponoka would accept him. The program there, the Northern Alberta Brain Injury Rehabilitation Program, she said that would be a good thing if he could get accepted down there. And so one evening, Ross was there with Danny and the physio student, and Ross said to Danny, "Here you have this good-looking physio student. She's working hard, to get your muscles going, and you're just lying there. Can't you even give her a smile?" And sure enough, he did.
First time.
So we were amazed.
Yeah.
So the doctor came and evaluated Danny again, and he got in.
And he would go to one of the doors, and he'd indicate to people that he wanted to go outside, and they were fine. They opened the door for him, and out he went. And one day, the nurses couldn't find him for quite a number of hours. And they went outside, and here he was. By this time, he had a sunburn. And of course, they were so excited about this because they were responsible for him. But anyway, it indicated that he just wanted to get outdoors. R F O R real men F fly fish S T R E A streams. Okay, real men fly fish streams. We really, really enjoyed William Watson Lodge. It's a family-oriented facility owned by the government of Alberta. Been there for 30 years. And basically it allows a family with a disabled person or a senior to be in a place away from home in the mountains. In 2006, when we were there, I officially retired from the University of Alberta. And I thought, why do we have to come down here all the time when half the population of Alberta is in Edmonton North and we don't have any facility like this? We raised money, and finally, December 9, I received the keys and took the first load of our equipment out to this site. We're calling it Coyote Lake Lodge, a wellness and nature center. So this facility is now located 60 kilometers directly west of Leduc, and so we are now into renovations. There are hundreds of thousands of people like him in Alberta, let alone, the rest of the world, who need to have something other than four walls and being stuck in the city. And, if we can get families to come out of a visit to that place stronger than they went in, we've made it. Looks good. W-E-A.
We've learned to try to be more patient, to try to be more accepting of the way the situation is, instead of always struggling against it.
If you can just think about how you can improve somebody else's life just a little bit, then I think it's a good way to look at people who have a disability. So Danny appreciates, all days, all hours of the day and night, and the seasons and so on. N, O, no, D, R, I, O, N, I, N, no droning. Okay, I'm supposed to keep my story short. Don't ever hide people with a disability.